Hello and welcome back to the Daily Royal, a podcast covering the daily events of all the European royal families. Today we are going to be talking about all of the events from January 28th of 2021 and trying to think if there's anything I really want to say. I will say I personally am feeling low energy. I, for some reason, decided the best idea I could have today was to wake up to watch something live for the Spanish royal family, which we'll talk about in a while, at 5:45, and then work a split shift and finish at 8. And I'm exhausted. This was a dumb choice. And also just like life is stressful some days, and today was one of those days. Yesterday was one of those. Last night after I recorded was one of those days, really. But we're working through it. So that's all I really have to say about me today. I hope you are all enjoying your time, your days, your COVID times, especially if you're experiencing, like the rest of us are, the higher outbreaks, the variant strains. Started consuming news again today. I regret that choice deeply. It's scary. It's a scary world out there. I will still consume news because I like to be a responsible citizen, but the news sucks. Okay, so we are going to jump right in with the Belgian royal family. So today in Belgium, King Philippe gives this annual address to the government authorities every year. Usually it is held at the Royal Palace in the throne room, which it was today as well. But due to circumstances, of course, there was no audience except for the Prime Minister. So it was given during a live stream that went live on the Belgian royal household's YouTube, maybe, and Twitter for sure, but the different social media accounts. So that happened. And during the speech, of course, he really just covered COVID because what else is there to talk about? So the speech is given to thank them for their work over the past year, because he gives one every beginning of the year. Typically, like I said, it's at a reception, but this year was really talking about all coming together in face of COVID, the formation of the government that happened in October, and just some of the things that the Belgian country, federal government has been through. And so just a very brief, I think it was 5 minutes or less speech, just thanking them for all their work for the country, essentially. And so that was what was going on in Belgium. I kind of thought maybe something else would happen throughout the day, but it didn't. COVID times, let me go on a little bit of a tangent because there's time to go on a little bit of a tangent. Doing this podcast during COVID is this, much like doing anything during COVID, it's this whirlwind roller coaster where it's some days are really, really great. This week we've had really fulfilled full days with lots of content. And then days like today, it's there was so much, but there's only so much I can say about it. And the expectations change every day. I should really stop having expectations, but I never do because I don't know, that's just not my personality, but like, you know, it was kind of like, okay, well, it was, the speech thing was really early from Philippe, so maybe he is, or Queen Matilda's going to do something a little bit later, but then they didn't. I'm like, well, okay. So just kind of working through all of that, it's like, oh, well, that empty space that I left on the calendar or on the outline is just going to remain empty, but that's okay. So yeah, that's what was going on in Belgium today. And now we are going to go ahead and move on to the British royal family. All right, so today in the UK, there were no public-facing events that actually happened today because, of course, the UK is in lockdown and, like, doesn't really know when it's coming out of lockdown. However, there were a couple of things that I wanted to very quickly talk about, or things that have kind of, like, made reappearances today. So one is, I wanted to give like a little bit of an update. If you remember towards the beginning, I don't remember exactly when it launched. It was like January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. It was very early on. The Duchess of Cornwall launched like a book club essentially, or like a reading. It's called the Duchess of Cornwall's Reading Room, but it's like a book club where every 2 weeks the Instagram page is highlighting a new book. And so they released the 4, and I just wanted to say, so I was not going to read every single one of them. I don't know if I am going to read every single one of them, but like in my attempt to stray away from so much political news, I've been finding joy in reading, or listening to books. Sometimes I read, sometimes I listen. It really just depends on what works. When I'm in my car for 8 hours a day, I definitely listen to a book. But I just wanted to say, so the book that they're focusing on for like the first 2 weeks is called, I'm literally reading it and I can't remember what it's called at the moment. The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel. And this book, like, I didn't go into it with any expectations. I was just like, okay, like I had no idea what it was going to be about. And it turns out it's kind of all about like the Tudors, which were like the British royal family way before, you know, Queen Victoria and more. And now Queen Elizabeth, like the switch there is drastic. But it was like all about that, and like it started with Anne Boleyn and like her execution, and it just became like this really fascinating story that I'm super into now. So I just wanted to like say that like this book is actually kind of good if you guys want to jump on. I know it's already been out for like 2 weeks, like it's already the Instagram page is moving on, but like this one is a really good one. And I think the next one is Where the Crawdads Sing, which I also have rented from the library as well. And we'll start that as soon as I finish The Mirror and the Light. But I just wanted to say, like, really good book. Okay, and then also today, a couple of days ago, we talked about the Duchess of Cornwall Duchess of Cambridge, having a video conversation with parents from a school, and they released some of that video today, so I'm going to post it on the website, thedailyroyal.com, and you can definitely check it out there. It's the best. Like, my COVID video conversations are, like, the happy birthday Queen Margrethe from all the royal families will definitely always be at the top. But this one comes a very close second. Let me just say that. So I'm very excited about this video. But like I said, I will be posting the whole thing on thedailyroyal.com, and you can check it out there. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the court circular. And bear with me, I changed up the way I read the court circular. So I had a subscription to the London Times, or the Times of London, which worked fine. However, in my continuous effort to simplify my media in news consumption, I have put everything on the Apple News app, which, if you get Apple News Plus, comes with the London Times, like it's in there already, so I'm doing that. So anyway, okay, long tangent to say all of that. However, we're going to start with today, and then I think I realized this yesterday. Let me make sure. Yeah, yesterday I didn't talk about the court circular because I was focused on the Holocaust Remembrance Day stuff. So, today on the court circular, we have the Prince of Wales held a meeting for the Sustainable Markets Initiative. Moving on, the Duke of Cambridge spoke to, so it looks like he is speaking to a lot of medical professionals via phone, who are implementing just a part of the COVID response. And there were like 5 conversations about that. And then he also held a meeting with representatives from Focused Conservation via video link that I'm sure we'll see in the next few days. So that was all today. Yesterday, it was Wednesday, so Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, had his weekly audience with Queen Elizabeth via telephone. And then the Duchess of Cornwall held a phone meeting with 2 representatives from Safe Lives, which is a anti-domestic violence organization that Camilla is patron of. And then moving on to the Duchess of Cambridge, she held a early years meeting via video link yesterday. So that's what was going on yesterday and today for the British royal family on the court circular, and then a couple of just like general updates on their other stuff. So that's what was going on in the UK. I know that took a little bit longer than I maybe intended it to, but I really wanted to talk about the book club, and that video, which like I said, I'll have posted on thedailyroyal.com. So with that, we are going to go ahead now and move on to Denmark. That's right, we have a Danish royal family event. How exciting for all of us. We actually had 2, which is like almost more than we've had all year. It's not. At this point, I think we're like almost up to 10 or something. It's like 6 or 7, I think, maybe 8 now. But still, like, it's the end of January and they've had 8 events. But anyway, they had 2 today, which is lovely. So today, Crown Prince Frederik virtually presented the Industry Foundation Entrepreneurship Award for 2020. And so this is honoring companies that have created something great. So this year it went to a hardware company called SwimCam, which has basically developed this underwater camera for elite swimmers to use during training sessions. So it will like, obviously, like the camera is videoing them and providing, and somehow it's providing like ways to help them train better. So I don't know if it's because it's like feeding the loop to their coach or what that is all about, but I thought that was really, really cool. And then also later in the day, Crown Prince Frederick visited the Emergency Response Center for COVID-19. So it seems like maybe a lot of countries have this. The US really doesn't. Shocking. Because our healthcare system is abysmal. But it seems like the Danish response situation is like they have one number for emergency, like COVID emergency, or maybe just all of their emergency services go through. I'm not sure. But then they also have like a COVID specific emergency use number that can get them more information or get them to where the available testing is. And also like that number, I think it's 1813. If you're in this only works if you're in Denmark, will be able to tell you like where the closest location is. But the program has also like set up neighborhood testing sites. They'll be implementing vaccination sites. It's just a really great like response team. And I just thought it was really cool. Like, it was a great display of the Danish healthcare system, which is something I would like to aspire towards. I don't know that it's ever going to happen in this country, but like, it's my ideal. Like, here's what would happen is a social program for healthcare. And yeah, I don't know. I just think it's lovely. Okay, so that's what was going on in Denmark. There's not a whole lot to talk about because, well, there just wasn't a lot of information released. But there was a couple of events, so that was very exciting for me. So with that, we are now going to move on to the Netherlands. Well, the situation in the Netherlands seems to just be getting worse. So I did finally today, because I'm allowing some news back into my life, start reading a little bit about what's going on in the Netherlands. And so I wanted to share, like, I found this article from, I think it was from Vox. Or no, I'm sorry, it was from Slate. And the title is, "Why is the Netherlands rioting over COVID now?" And here's the thing. They're rioting. They're burning down pedestrian bridges. They are rioting in the streets. It looks like I want to be very careful about how I say this, but like in the summer, cities throughout the United States were having protests that were mostly peaceful. Some of them turned into riots, and it looks like that. It also looks like, the Capitol on January 6th of 2021 this year. But like, it's just people are mad over the COVID restrictions. So I dived into a little bit of why. And so it seems like the main reason is that the last week, the government announced a much more strict lockdown, including a curfew, which lasts from 9 p.m. until 4:30 a.m., which I will say, like, the curfew that my state is under is pretty much the same. It's 10 to 5. And this is because of the more contagious variants that are popping up. And the thing is, it's because the Netherlands is not in Russia, in like relativity, it's not doing as terribly in the world with COVID. So, and then it also talks about, like, I guess I haven't read the New York Times article because I haven't, but, like, it looks like, these are, like, a extremely fringe group of people. Like, here's a quote, that says, "There is no support for the rioters from anybody. No group, no political party is a part of this. They're not politically motivated. They're just, people are frustrated." Add on that, you're having a government change. Like, there's just a lot happening. So, and then it talks about, like, the COVID rankings. So Italy is the 6th, the US is the 10th, and the Netherlands is all the way down at 38. So, like, it's not that it's doing a horrible job like my country is, or Italy has done, or I'm sure Spain is in there somewhere between 10 and 38. I'm sure it's like 15 or something. But, like, people are just mad. Okay? People are just mad. So, anyway, that's what the whole deal is in a very, it's not super condensed, but, like, a very summarized version, so you don't have to find these articles. But in continuing with that theme, today King Willem-Alexander held a in-person meeting with business owners, residents, police officers, etc. after these disturbances. Riots. Let's call them what they are. They're riots. And just to, again, like, express his support for the cities that are facing this situation, because, again, like, this has no wide support, but you want to support the people who are doing their best to keep their city safe. So that's what he was doing, and he was talking to business owners about how they're keeping their businesses safe, because I know everyone thinks, like, rioting. Protesting is very different than rioting. I want to be very clear about this. Rioting, you're hurting people. You're not helping anything. You're hurting people. You're hurting businesses. You're hurting the police officers. You're hurting the city you live in if you're rioting and burning bridges. Literally burning bridges. Not the figurative bridges. Literal bridges. Like, you're not helping anything. You're not getting your message across in a peaceful way. So stop. But anyway, so that was, like, the first thing on his agenda. And then he went back to digital working visits, where he spoke with representatives of a residential care facility to learn about the impact of, I love that this is what they're still calling it, the second wave of coronavirus. Are we really still in the second wave? Like, does this not count as 3 or 4 at this point, especially with contagious variants? Like, stop it. This is not the second wave of anything anymore. Okay, so that was King Willem-Alexander's schedule. And then also today, Queen Maxima paid a working visit to doctors and researchers at a university medical center about the innovations in the healthcare industry, as well as prevention and recovery programs. That's all the press release said. I got nothing else. Sorry. I'm sure by the time you're listening to this, if you want to go find the release on the Dutch Royal House's website, they'll have updated it. But they don't update in a timely manner. Even though I record this at, what time is it in Amsterdam? 2:25 in the morning. But that's okay. I have lots of grievances today. So that's what was going on in the Netherlands today. There's a good bit of background on the situation with the riots and what's going on there. And now we are going to go ahead and move on to Norway. So in Norway, we have... Okay, here's what I wrote, because this, I think, describes how I'm feeling in the best way possible. I typed out, well, King Harald is on sick leave again. This time, it's due to pain in his leg. So Crown Prince Haakon is currently serving as regent. They didn't share any other information. It is supposed to be over like on Sunday, so it's not a very long thing. He should return to work on Monday. Just Crown Prince Haakon is going to handle the Council of State tomorrow. However, I guess I have read somewhere, I'm trying to look it up right now, that this is like making headlines because this is the third time in a year that King Harald has had to go on some sort of sick leave for like an announcement of Crown Prince Haakon becoming regent. So I don't know that I trust this option. It's from Express, which is part of, it's just not a super reputable source. But it is, I mean, this is just because it's in English. I don't read a lot of information in Norwegian because I don't understand it, but this is causing some concern, and I have made no big secret about the fact that I am concerned about his health. Now, I will say, when he returned, he was looking better, and I was feeling a little bit more confident in his health, but he has gone on sick leave 3 times in a year, so it's very worrying. So just, best wishes, good vibes, etc. to King Harald for whatever's going on right now. And, that is the only update from Norway today. There were no events, particularly. It does say that Crown Prince Haakon is participating in WEF, or I'm sorry, Crown Prince Regent Haakon is participating in the World Economic Forum. But there were no specific panels or anything that he was a part of today that they announced. So that's what was going on. So in tomorrow's episode, we'll be talking about Crown Prince Regent leading the Council of State and any other events that he may do on Friday. So that's what was going on in Norway, and now we are going to go ahead and move on to Spain. right. In Spain, it was time for another annual event. So today, King Felipe and Queen Letizia hosted the annual reception for the diplomatic corps assigned to Spain. So this is something that happens in the beginning part of the year every year. It's very normal. It's an annual event. It has literally happened since ever. I don't know. I was maybe a little bit surprised to see it on the calendar, but not really, because Spain is definitely trying to put on this facade of we can get through this pandemic without canceling things. This fourth wave or whatever the heck we're in. I don't know how long that'll last, but that's where they're at right now. They're still no, we'll be fine. We'll get through it. So it was a little bit different. So usually spouses will come with the ambassadors. It is a much larger crowd than it was this year. They all obviously previously would shake hands, and with King Felipe and Queen Letizia, and obviously none of that can happen. So, but it was the same format. They walk in, they give their greetings, and then they walk into the throne room and wait while the king and queen kind of greet everyone else. And then once everyone is put in place, they go stand in front of the thrones, and the dean of the diplomatic corps, who is the ambassador from the Vatican, will give a brief address, and then King Felipe will give a longer address. It felt really long today. I don't know if it was really long. I haven't watched, I've watched it, but I don't know. They don't have a separate video yet for his speech, so I don't know exactly how long it was. It felt really long though. I mean, the whole thing took an hour, from start to finish, but the speech felt really long. So during King Felipe's speech, he of course talked about COVID and all of the different ways that has been affecting on international relationships and international relationships with other countries in Spain. One thing that I, being me, fixated on was he talked about the states in our new administration, our presidential administration. So I became fixated on this, and I was well, okay, it won't be spectacular if he mentioned something in 2017, which he did. So it's not a spectacular thing, but I do kind of wonder why he singles us out. Yes, our presidential transition of power was 8 days ago. I understand that. But why? So in 2017, he talked about how he hoped to continue, he hoped Spain and the U.S. would continue their good relationship. And then this year he went on a little bit more of, it wasn't long, but it was more than just a few brief words, which I personally thought was kind of interesting. I don't want to read anything into it, because as much as I want to put political beliefs on these royal families, and believe me, I do, I don't know them. I don't know what their political beliefs actually are. So I won't say that this had a big thing, but it was more than a few words. I will say that much. That's not the speech. Hold on. But just talking about, the continuation and just the goodness that brings. So just, we trust that together with the new administration, we will continue to strengthen the deep historic ties that unite us and cover the most varied fields of politics, defense, economy, culture, or society. I express my best wishes for the presidency of the of the new president. You guys, this sounded a little bit better in Spanish. with the conviction that our relations will be strengthened and enriched. It's almost like it's a paragraph. It's more than just a sentence, but it is like Felipe didn't send like an official telegram because that's more of an old school way of communicating. Like, I don't expect that to be the way Norway and Sweden communicate with future presidents in the future. Like, when the younger people are on the throne, and this is a far off way, like a far away thing, hopefully. But like, King Felipe didn't send an official telegram through the State Department or anything like that. So this is his statement on congratulating Joe Biden on his presidency, essentially. Like, this is it. And just talking about, like, continuing good relations. Because I will say, like, Spain and the U.S., our historical ties are pretty intense. But, like, I don't know the ins and outs of all of the, like, bits and pieces of the diplomatic relationship. But, like, Spain, like, our diplomatic relationship can always be strengthened wherever it is. But Spain and, like, the ties, I think could be better, but that's maybe just me because I don't know if there's a word. Like, I'm not Anglophile would be being obsessed with England, which I'm not. I want to go, but I'm not. But, like, I don't know if there's an equivalent for that in Spanish, but that's what I kind of am. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But that's what was going on in Spain today. I will say, this dress that Queen Letizia wears gets mixed reviews. I love it so much and was so excited that it's what she wore. I don't think I got to talk about it last year because I didn't start the podcast until after Pasqua Militar last year. But she wore it last year on January 6th, and it's just really pretty. And also, side note, I love, like, she'll typically wear her hair down or in a ponytail because she is doing her own hair. But today she went for, like, a ballet bun, which was so tight. I was like, my head would hurt so bad if my bun was that tight. But anyway, just a little commentary on hair, because hair hurts sometimes, people. Okay, so that's what was going on in Spain, and now we are going to go ahead and move on to Sweden. All right, we are going to finish in Sweden as we always do. I do want to say, so I still have one more podcast of January that'll go up. And then I'm still toying with the idea because unless I remember on Monday when I record again, I do want to go backwards for a month. So like start with Sweden and go backwards just for a month to like change it up a little bit, in case people peg off in the beginning. Like, come back, listen to the whole thing. I don't know, just a different thing. And I always feel bad because Sweden, I've been talking for 40 minutes, and so I feel bad because I'm like, I'm not gonna go over 45, so Sweden gets a short thing. But anyway, okay, so jumping right in. Not really, but jumping in now, let's see. The first event, we had King Carl Gustaf, Queen Sylvia, Crown Princess Victoria, and Prince Daniel participating in a video call with two of the ministers of the Swedish government. So they met with the Minister for Nordic Cooperation and the Minister for EU Affairs. And this was a conversation really focused on Brexit, which is, of course, the United Kingdom leaving the European Union. That became official maybe in December. I know because I wasn't recording, I didn't talk about it, but like Queen Elizabeth did sign the official like declaration of Brexit, and it was like really late at night or something. It was bizarre. Like I was following it, but because I wasn't recording in December, I don't really remember what happened. And I don't have an episode to be like, oh, go listen to this. But anyway, it happened officially recently, and now is really like the trade negotiations, and those are just becoming a nightmare. And so lots of different countries are being impacted differently, and so I think this was just a way for the royal family to really get the information on what's going on with Swedish relations after Brexit, with the UK and with the European Union, and all of that. So a really important thing. And so I don't know if these happened kind of in the background previously to COVID. I remember it was October, and they had a meeting like this with the Swedish ambassador to the United States about our political situation. And I I went and looked to see if they had done one in 2016, and they didn't. And I was just like so upset, because I just felt embarrassing, which it was. But like, I do wonder if maybe that was happening in the background and they weren't releasing it, much like this. Like if these conversations of keeping King Carl Gustaf, but also Crown Princess Victoria kind of, up to date on what was going on in the government, outside of the quarterly or whenever Council of State meetings that Sweden has. So I do love that they're kind of releasing this more on a regular basis now. It just makes me, I don't know, feel like they know what's going on. And sometimes it feels like kings and queens don't always know what's going on. So I like when they do. Or when it's like very obvious that they do. So that is what is going on first. And then the final event for the Swedish royal family is King Carl Gustaf held a digital meeting with the Swedish Ski Association. That's all the information that was given. So maybe more on that tomorrow if more information is released. But that's all there was. So that ends this episode for today. I will talk to you all tomorrow. Please be sure to check out thedailyroyal.com and the Daily Royal on Instagram, and give this podcast a like and a review. And I will talk to you all tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.